Hello and welcome to another video. So we're going to be taking a look at a buff shadow deck. So the main premise of the deck being that you can use the ambush card Angelic Slacker along with things like Caterpillar of Riddles, and now I went too far, whoops. Merciless Ghost, Ghostly Rider, Sedwin to return the ghost, either one works pretty well. Summoning them out, comboing those with the Siren's Tears, giving the +X, where X equals the attack of the destroyed Shadowcraft follower. And since X is equal to just the attack, you can actually use the ghosts and stuff as trade fodder, get them down to even 1 health, and then have the Sirens go off and give them a full boost with the attack stat, which is pretty damn crazy. You've got the couple of Poisonous Apples, which work nicely with the other neutrals, especially when you're trying to combo them off. Other than that, you've got your basic zombie parties, your pretty standard neutral lineup. You don't want anything to contest the 4-drop range, so you don't need Alice. You've obviously got your Grimneers, which work pretty well, and the possible OTK of the Soothing Harpist. So using the Angelic Slacker comboed with the Ghost or the Caterpillar, you can go for a +9, I think, with the Ghost with its evolve. So its evolve gives you a 6. Plus the 2 for an extra 8, plus the 1 stat on this already for a total of 9 damage on its own. And if you do have a previous Caterpillar boost or any other kind of boost, you can quite easily pull off an easy 10 damage on the Angelic Slacker and the Soothing Harpist combo for 20, which is quite exciting. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to pull that off myself, but we do get some hugely buffed Angelic Slackers. So we'll get right into the games here. So most of these games can go pretty quickly here. Your most optimal hand you're looking for is probably an early 2-drop range card. So Ghost isn't bad, Siren's Tears isn't bad, but you're really looking for something to go into that neutral spot. If you don't have a neutral card, I recommend mulliganing everything high, so you can try and go for those 2 to 3 drop range cards that you can just play out. Archer's a pretty good one. Personally, you also want the 4-drop ambush. So if you can set up a Siren's Tear turn 3 followed by the 2-drops, usually you can do quite well, which is what you'll see here in a moment. Being able to throw out that 2-2. You do have to get a little lucky and not have your opponent trade into everything all the time. That can make things quite difficult after testing this deck just a little bit. So dealing that 2 damage to face, getting in as much damage as you can in the early game really does help those final combos pull off. Unfortunately, due to our draws, we've actually got a fairly nice lineup, with Caterpillar giving a +2 total, and allowing us to deal a fair amount of damage while boosting everything else. Luckily, we don't need to worry about the ramp, because our curve is just really quite nice here. Best part being they have to dual trade, just to get rid of that 6/5 golem or whatever it was, that huge follower. And we draw into a Ghost. Very, very good card, especially when comboed with Sirens. Those pluses are just crazy. And because I wanted the extra damage, I definitely wanted to power that up and get that 1-shot. Plus it now becomes an 11-9, which I don't believe Dragon could easily deal with on that turn, so made it pretty easy to close that game out. So our next matchup is against Rune. We do get to go second, which is not that bad. I mean, the early evolves always work out pretty nicely. Fortunately, we already get our neutral Unica. Well, Unicorn, yeah, Unica. Yep, doing a good job. The Actress is also a nice little booster, and Goblin's always a solid 3-drop. So we draw a full hand of early drops. We don't really have any of our combo pieces, which kind of suck. Not the best hand you want here. You definitely do want something to combo off. Fortunately, Caterpillar does kind of make up for it a little bit, and they don't really play anything into turn 1 or 2. Very, very minimal drops. The Abomination Awakened, on the other hand, is quite powerful. So that's something that you kind of gotta watch out for if you're not too careful. That is a really random card, honestly. You rarely see that kind of card get dropped. Maybe a new sort of rune is appearing. Who knows? So they aim for a defensive play. Well, we have plenty of time to just stack our board. So it's just another way to play this deck. You don't always have to go for that single follower stack gain. You can go for a full board gain with the Caterpillar and the neutral followers. Like, Caterpillar alone was a good boost, and if Actress gets to stay on board, you also get another boost all the way across the board, which is quite powerful. Unfortunately, they do have Time Worn, so we expect the clear on those two. Things to watch out for are definitely board clears. You don't want to have your whole board cleared in this, especially when you're running those ambushes. Things like Decree and stuff will really hurt you. So if you haven't won by that point, you're pretty screwed. You want an early, probably turn 6, turn 7 at the latest closeout. Fortunately, I didn't get to pull off the OTK with Harpist. That would have been an amazing thing to do, but it's obviously very difficult when you're only running one. But because you're not relying on that combo, it isn't always the biggest piece. It's just a nice combo to have access to. So we end up with a full board of plenty of damage. And this was the most random rune deck I'd ever faced. Throwing out an Oracle and an Awakened. Fortunately, we didn't even need to worry about it, and we have plenty of damage to win this game. And so we'll round out the final game, our last one being against Dragon again. So we got a couple of nice Dragon matchups, which really allowed us to show off what this deck is capable of. Obviously, because Dragon does have that slower ramp, it allows our early followers to push out. This deck doesn't really perform that great against Blood and things, just because of that early power. You don't have time to really set anything up. Unless you get super lucky and you're able to zombie party their board down early. That's another way you can deal with Blood, alright. Fortunately, this hand was pretty good, honestly. We ended up with that Caterpillar, we ended up with the Angelic Slacker and Zombie Party for an early removal. Poisoned Apple also working quite well in combo with other neutrals. I don't tend to use it too much, but it is nice to have for when you need it. Being able to have that death and then resummon ability. So we go for the Slacker, holding off on the Caterpillar. Just one more turn. Getting that little bit of chip damage that you want there. This game on the other hand was very close though, all the way through, you know, they trade in. They really deal with my board quite effectively. We do get to drop our Caterpillar, which gives us a boost. Unfortunately, we didn't manage to have the combo for Caterpillar, where we can gain a +6/+6, but still not too bad. So we do get to see the Sybil. Such a powerful card, Sybil. Fortunately, they do miss out on their ramp turn, I think. Yeah, because they don't trade the 2/1. So they don't get the heal, which is really good for me. Them not being able to heal that up. So fortunately, we do curve out pretty alright. Being able to +2/+2. Slowly boosting that up, while leaving them nothing to target on board with spells. Fortunately, that becomes a little difficult, but also good, because without the rush ability they can't actually hit anything due to that being ambushed. So I found that was a really effective way to deal with that, making sure your board actually had nothing on it at those turns. And being able to use this as a trade fodder and then gain +7/+7, I believe. Actually, was it +8 at that point? Because I think that ability is till the end of turn, isn't it? Yeah. So that actually triggers first, meaning you get +8 due to the ability if you attack with it. Which is just even better. So we get a 12/14 ward. We can't use the ward yet due to it being ambushed. Fortunately though, a board flood is pretty easy to do here. So the biggest risk is that they get rid of the goblins and we don't have anything else to come along with it. Fortunately we see Lucifer. We're just out of range of the Bahamut turn, which was kind of a plan there after seeing them play the Bahamut. And luckily they go straight for face, putting us to 6 and healing back up to 20. The fortunate part is we actually have a 20 damage combo with these two boosts. So for a 13, a 3, 2, and an extra 1, gives us an extra 1 damage. Really nice way to close that game out. So a few small things for the deck. Obviously, I didn't get to mess around too much with Siren or the Soothing Harpist, obviously both being one-ofs in the deck. You're not going to see them as often, but they are nice when they do appear. The Siren working really nicely with the Ghost and the Ghostly Rider because of the +5/+5 and the 4/2 stat gains that you get from the Siren's Tears being quite powerful. Caterpillar also is a nice little boost as well because it's also a +4, which is good. So at minimum, you're going to get a +4 with the highest cost followers. You're rarely going to play that when you've already had those on board, unless you need to pull one out. Other than that, the Poison Apple's probably the weakest card in this deck from my testing, just because you don't really play it as that often onto the neutrals. The only neutral that would be worth giving it to is probably Soothing Harpist for the resummon, along with getting the Siren's Tears. Actually, is it neutral? Yeah, change of neutral, yeah. I was trying to remember. Other than that, there's not much to use it for. You might be able to use it on a Goblin Leader, maybe on a Lyriel, maybe even Unicorn Dancer if you're desperate. Then use the Siren's Tears, proc them, and then loop that kind of ability a little bit, which is always nice, so it definitely works. It's just an interesting one. Soul Squasher, removing evolved things, quite good removal. Zombie Party, potential for a Board Flood, and the 3 damage 2 cost spell is pretty standard in most decks these days. Other than that, the Angelic Slacker is really the key card, along with the Ghost and the Ghostly Rider and the Caterpillar. Caterpillar is actually really quite a fun card to use. The 2 damage to all other Shadowcraft followers really doesn't come into play because you're not really playing other Shadowcrafts when you're playing these. So it's quite enjoyable, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. As always, deck list will be in the description along with the source for this deck, which is one of the Game Press decks I just come across while searching for content to do for videos. So hopefully you guys enjoy it, and I'll catch you guys next time. See ya!